The rain hammers against the windows of Salvatore's restaurant like bullets on metal. Inside, cigar smoke curls toward the pressed tin ceiling, mixing with the scent of red wine and simmering marinara. 8 men sit around a corner table, their suits expensive, their watches Italian, their conversation kept low. They're the Rossi family, North Jersey crew. And tonight, like every Thursday, they're settling accounts. Debts collected, territories negotiated, respect maintained. Vincent, the Falcon. Rossi sits at the head, a man in his 60s with silver hair slicked back and eyes like polished obsidian. His hands rest on the white tablecloth, thick fingers adorned with gold. But it's the ring on his right hand that catches light, a heavy signet ring, gold with a black onyx stone engraved with a falcon in flight. It's his signature, his symbol, the mark he's worn for 40 years, a legacy carved in precious metal. Around him, his crew talks business. Carlo, the underboss, built like a boxer with knuckles that have broken more faces than he can count. Gino, the consigliere, old-school wisdom wrapped in a 3-piece suit, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviews ledgers. The others, soldiers, enforcers, men whose names you whisper or don't say at all. They're discussing a shipment coming through Newark, a territory dispute in Hoboken, the usual chess moves of organized power. The restaurant hums with controlled energy. Marco, the owner, moves between tables with practiced deference. The kitchen clangs and sizzles. A bottle of Barolo breathes on the table. This is Vincent's kingdom, orderly and absolute. Then the door opens, a gust of wind. A woman stumbles in. I drenched, gasping. She's maybe 35, hollow-eyed, makeup smeared by rain and tears. Her coat is thin, inadequate for the storm, and she's shaking from cold or fear or both. Behind her, clutching her coat with small fists, is a little girl. 7 years old, maybe 8. Dark curls plastered to her face, sneakers squeaking on the tile floor, leaving wet prints. Her backpack has a broken zipper, hanging crooked from one shoulder. The strap is frayed. Her jeans are too short, showing ankles that are pale and thin. Her jacket, threadbare at the elbows, a patch sewn on the shoulder that doesn't quite match the fabric, clings to her small frame. But it's her eyes that hit first. Dark brown, huge, old. The kind of eyes that belong to someone who's already learned that the world doesn't give, it takes. The eyes that have seen eviction notices and empty refrigerators, and adults crying when they think children aren't watching. She stands there in the doorway, small against the storm's gray light, scanning the room like she's searching for something she's not sure exists. The restaurant goes silent. Conversations die mid-sentence. Forks pause. Even Marco freezes, uncertain. "Signora, we're closed for a private—" Marco starts, stepping forward nervously. "Please," the woman chokes out. "Please, I need help. My car broke down and my phone's dead and my daughter, she's—" Her voice cracks. She's shaking so hard she can barely stand, one hand gripping the doorframe for support. Vincent raises a hand. Marco stops. The Falcon studies the woman with the careful attention of a man who's survived 5 decades by reading people. He sees desperation, not deception, fear, not threat. Genuine terror in a mother's eyes. He's seen it before, the look of someone who's reached the end of every option and is standing at the edge of a cliff. "Give her a towel," Vincent says, his voice carrying authority without volume. "Get the girl some hot chocolate." Marco hesitates for just a breath. This isn't protocol, outsiders during family business. But then he nods. Vincent Rossi has spoken. He disappears into the kitchen. The woman collapses into a chair near the door, pulling her daughter close, wrapping both arms around the small body like she can shield her from the world with nothing but love and exhausted determination. The little girl, Sophia, though Vincent doesn't know her name yet, doesn't cry. She just stares at the men with those enormous eyes that have seen too much too soon. The Vincent returns to his conversation with Carlo, something about containers and port schedules, but his attention keeps drifting. Call it instinct. Call it the sixth sense that keeps men like him alive when so many others end up in shallow graves or FBI holding cells. He glances back at the girl. She's staring at him. Not at his face. Not at the intimidating presence or the aura of power that makes grown men nervous. At his hand. At the ring. Her eyes go wide, pupils dilating, mouth opening in a small O of recognition. Her whole body goes rigid. The hot chocolate Marco just set down. She doesn't touch it, doesn't even seem to see it. She's locked onto Vincent's right hand like it's a ghost made manifest. And then she screams, "That's my daddy's ring!" The words explode through the restaurant like a gunshot. Every head turns. Every conversation dies. The very air seems to crystallize, frozen in the wake of that child's scream. Vincent's wine glass stops halfway to his lips, suspended in space and time. Carlo's hand moves instinctively toward his jacket, old habits, protective reflexes. Gino's pen hovers over his ledger, ink bleeding into the paper. The other men shift, uncertain, dangerous, because uncertainty in their world means threat. The little girl breaks from her mother's grip and runs forward. Not walks, runs. Her sneakers squeak on the wet tile as she crosses the distance between the door and Vincent's table, one small hand extended, finger trembling as she points at his right hand. "My father wore that same ring." Her voice cracks with emotion, high and desperate and certain. "The bird! The black stone! That's his ring!" The mother lunges after her daughter, hands grasping at the girl's shoulders. "Sophia, no, we don't—" But her voice dies in her throat when she sees Vincent's face. The color has drained from it, completely. Vincent, the Falcon, Rossi, the man who once stared down a federal prosecutor for 6 hours without blinking, who negotiated a 5-family truce at gunpoint, who has ordered things that would make devils weep. Vincent Rossi has gone pale as death. His hand, the one with the ring, begins to shake. It's a small thing, almost imperceptible. But Carlo sees it. Gino sees it. Every man at that table sees it and understands that something seismic has just occurred. Vincent doesn't shake. Vincent doesn't lose composure. Vincent is stone and steel and absolute control. But his hand is shaking. Carlo stands, and his chair scraping backward with a sound like tearing metal. His body moves between Vincent and the girl, protective, automatic, but Vincent raises his other hand, palm out. Wait. The gesture is small, but absolute. Carlo freezes. The other men don't move. They barely breathe. Vincent stares at the little girl, really looks at her. The dark hair, the shape of her face, the set of her jaw. Something in those features pulls at memory, tugs at wounds he thought had scarred over 20 years ago. "What's your name?" His voice is barely a whisper, rough as sandpaper. The girl's chin trembles, but she doesn't back down. She stands there, 7 years old and dripping rainwater, staring up at a man who makes grown men nervous. And she doesn't flinch. "Sophia." A breath. "Sophia Bennett." Vincent stands slowly. He's a big man, 6'3", a broad-shouldered, a presence that fills rooms and ends arguments. But as he walks around the table toward this little girl, he seems to shrink, to age, like years are piling onto him with each step. His movements are careful, measured, like he's approaching something that might shatter if he's not gentle. "And that's my daddy's ring," Sophia continues, her voice breaking. "He wore it every day until... Her face crumples. The brave facade cracks. She's just a little girl again, drowning in grief too big for her small body. "Until he died." The air goes out of the room. Vincent stops 3 feet from her. This man who has broken bones and hearts, who has built an empire on fear and respect, who has survived 5 decades in a world that devours the weak, He kneels down, slowly, until he's eye level with Sophia Bennett. His knees crack. But his expensive suit pools on the damp floor, but he doesn't seem to notice. "Your father," he says carefully, each word measured and weighted. "What was his name?" Sophia swallows. Her small throat works like it's hard to get the words out. Her hands ball into fists at her sides. You can see her fingernails digging into her palms, leaving small crescents of white pressure. "Anthony. Anthony Bennett." She pauses, then adds in a voice so small it's almost lost. "But he said people used to call him Tony the Hawk." The restaurant might as well have detonated. Carlo's chair crashes backward as he stumbles. His hand goes to his mouth. Gino drops his pen. It clatters onto the table, rolls, falls to the floor. One of the soldiers makes a sound like he's been punched in the gut. Another crosses himself reflexively, lips moving in silent prayer. And Vincent. Vincent's jaw clenches so tight you can hear his teeth grind. His eyes, those cold obsidian eyes that have stared down death 100 times, fill with tears. "Tony," he breathes. The name is a prayer and a wound all at once. It hangs in the air, heavy with 20 years of silence and regret and loss. Cristo Santo, Tony. The mother steps forward, her terror transforming into something else. Recognition, understanding, horror and hope tangled together in her hollow eyes. "You knew him." It's not a question. "You knew my husband." Vincent nods slowly. He can't speak, can't find words through the tightness in his throat. He looks down at his ring, the falcon in flight, the symbol he's worn for 40 years, and twists it on his finger. The gold catches light. When he finally looks up, his voice is thick, broken, barely recognizable. "Knew him?" He pauses, takes a breath that sounds like it costs him everything. "Signora, Tony Bennett was my son." The words land like thunder. Sophia gasps. Her mother's hand flies to her mouth. The men at the table erupt in chaos, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, someone cursing in Italian, another praying, Gino's face buried in his hands. But Vincent sees none of it. He stares at this little girl, his granddaughter, though he didn't know she existed until 30 seconds ago, and watches his entire past rewrite itself in the present. Outside, the rain continues to fall. Inside Salvatore's restaurant, a ghost walks through the door 20 years too late, wearing the face of a child and carrying truths that will change everything. The silence that follows Vincent's confession is absolute. It's the kind of quiet that comes before explosions, before the world reshapes itself into something new and terrible and unavoidable. Sophia stares up at him, her young mind trying to process words that don't make sense. Grandfather. This man, this stranger with tears in his eyes and a ring that matches the one her father treasured, is family. Vincent remains kneeling, eye level with his granddaughter, and the story spills out of him like blood from an old wound. 20 years ago, he begins, his voice rough with memory, I gave Tony an ultimatum. The words transport him. You can see it in his eyes. The way they focus on something beyond the restaurant, beyond the present moment. He's back in this very room, 2 decades younger, standing across from a son who looked so much like this little girl, it makes his chest ache. Oh, the family business or the woman he loved, your mother. Vincent's jaw tightens. I said there was no middle ground, no half measures. You're either in or you're out. That's how we survive in this life. Loyalty isn't conditional, it's absolute. He pauses, his hand unconsciously moving to the ring, twisting it. And Tony, the name catches in his throat. Tony chose love. Sophia's mother makes a sound, half sob, half gasp. Vincent looks at her now, really looks at her, seeing her for the first time as more than an intruder. She's the woman his son loved enough to abandon everything for. the woman worth walking away from an empire. He walked away, Vincent continues, changed his name, Bennett instead of Rossi, cut all ties, moved to... He looks at the mother questioningly. Pennsylvania, she whispers. Outside Pittsburgh. Small town. They quiet. Vincent nods slowly. Far from here. Far from me. His voice drops to barely audible. I was so angry, so proud, so stupidly, blindly proud. He reaches out slowly, telegraphing the movement, and touches Sophia's cheek with surprising gentleness. I told him if he left he could never come back, that he was dead to me, that I had no son. A tear escapes, rolls down his weathered face. He doesn't wipe it away. But he wasn't dead. He was living. He was being a father. Vincent's voice cracks. Something I never learned how to be. Sophia's mother, Vincent realizes he doesn't even know her name, steps closer. Her fear has transformed into something complex. Anger, grief, understanding all tangled together. I'm Rachel, she says quietly, reading his unspoken question. Rachel Bennett, Tony's wife. She pauses, and then adds with deliberate emphasis, your daughter-in-law. The words hit Vincent like physical blows. Daughter-in-law, family he's never met, a granddaughter he didn't know existed. When did he... Vincent can't finish the sentence. 8 months ago. Rachel's voice breaks. Heart attack. He was only 43. She presses her palm against her chest, over her own heart. The doctor said it was genetic, that his father probably had the same... She stops, looks at Vincent. You should get checked. Vincent waves this away. His health is irrelevant now. 43, Christo, he was just a baby. He spent everything trying to keep his past buried, Rachel continues, and now there's steel in her voice. Accusation. 20 years of protection coming due. Every time we had extra money, he moved us. New town, new jobs. I knew names on occasion. He was terrified that... She stops, looks at Vincent, at Carlo, at Gino and the others watching from the table, at this world of expensive suits and whispered conversations and power that breaks bones. From me, Vincent finishes for her. His voice is hollow. From this. He stands slowly, his knees protesting, and he's suddenly aware of how old he's gotten. 67 years of life, most of it hard. He looks around at his crew, these men who've stood with him through wars and federal investigations and betrayals. Carlo's jaw is clenched so tight you can see the muscles jumping. His eyes are wet. Gino has removed his reading glasses and is wiping his eyes with a handkerchief, his weathered face crumpled with grief. The others shift uncomfortably, these hard men confronted with a loss they all share. We all remember Tony, Carlo says suddenly, his voice thick. He looks at Sophia. He had this laugh, kid, loud and real, the kind that made you laugh even if you didn't get the joke. He was loyal, Gino adds quietly, loyal to a fault, would take a bullet for any of us. He was torn, another soldier says. Paulie, a man who's been with the family 30 years, between this life and something better. We could all see it, the way he'd look at us sometimes like he was measuring the cost. Vincent stares at his ring. The falcon in flight, the symbol of the Rossi family, of power and legacy and tradition. The thing Tony wore before he gave it back, before he walked away, before he chose a different path. He gave me this ring the night he left, Vincent says quietly. Took it off his own hand, said he couldn't wear it where he was going. Said it belonged to this world, and he was leaving this world behind. He looks at Sophia, sees his son's eyes looking back at him through this child's face. And I took it, put it back on my own finger, told him he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Vincent's voice breaks. But he wasn't. I was. He knew what mattered. He knew love was worth more than power. He knew being your father. He gestures to Sophia. Was worth more than being my son. The restaurant is silent, except for the rain still hammering against the windows and the distant clatter from the kitchen where Marco has retreated, giving them privacy. Sophia doesn't fully understand. She's too young, too innocent. But she senses the weight of it, the 20 years of silence, the choice her father made. The grandfather she never knew she had, standing before her with tears on his face and regret carved into every line. Vincent stares at his ring one more time. The symbol of everything that drove his son away. The marker of a pride that cost him 2 decades. The weight of gold that suddenly feels unbearably heavy. Vincent stares at the ring for a long moment. Then, slowly, deliberately, he begins to twist it off his finger. It resists at first. 40 years of wear have made it part of him, the gold molded to the shape of his knuckle. He works it carefully, rotating it back and forth, and finally it slides free. The skin beneath is pale, a band of white flesh that hasn't seen sunlight in decades. The ring sits in his palm, warm from his skin, heavy with history. This ring, Vincent says, his voice steadier now, purposeful. Why belonged to my father, your great-grandfather, Sophia, Giuseppe Rossi. He wore it through prohibition, through wars, through everything. He turns it over, studying the engraved falcon as if seeing it for the first time. He gave it to me when I became head of the family. I was 28 years old, scared out of my mind but trying not to show it. He looks at Rachel, then back at Sophia. I wore it when I should have given it to Tony, when he turned 21, when he earned his place, when he... Vincent's jaw works, when he became a man, but I was too angry, too hurt by his questions, his doubts, his wanting something different, so I kept it, held on to it like holding on to control. He kneels again. His knees will hate him tomorrow, but tomorrow doesn't matter, and takes Sophia's small hand. Her fingers are cold, trembling. He places the ring in her palm and closes her fingers around it. The gold nearly fills her entire hand. I won't make that mistake twice, Vincent says, and it's a vow. This belongs to you, Tony's daughter, my granddaughter. Sophia stares at the ring, then at him, confusion and wonder warring on her young face. But it's yours. No, Bambina. It's yours. It was always meant to be yours. He stands, turns to his crew, and his voice shifts, becomes the voice that commands, that leads, that brooks no argument. Carlo, the underboss straightens. Get Maria on the phone. Tell her to prepare the East guest house, 2 bedrooms. Make sure it's warm. Stock the kitchen. On it, boss. Carlo already has his phone out. Gino. The consigliere looks up. Contact Bernstein first thing tomorrow. I want an education fund established for Sophia by morning, full ride, anywhere she wants to go, elementary through graduate school, no limits. Consider it done. Gino is already making notes. Vincent turns to face all of them. His crew, his family, men who've bled with him and for him. His voice carries through the restaurant, absolute and final. This is Sophia Bennett Rossi, my granddaughter. She's family. Anyone has a problem with that? Silence. Then, one by one, each man stands. Carlo first, his massive frame unfolding from his chair. Then Gino, slower, older, but just as certain. Paulie, Vince Jr., Tommy. Marco emerges from the kitchen. One by one they stand, and some nod, and some cross themselves, and all of them understand what this means. When the falcon speaks, you listen. When the falcon claims family, you protect it. No questions, no hesitation. This is the code. Sophia clutches the ring, overwhelmed. This grandfather she never knew existed. This world her father fled. These dangerous men in expensive suits, treating her like she's precious, sacred, untouchable. Rachel watches it all, her mind spinning. She thinks of the eviction notice tucked in her purse. Final warning, 3 days to vacate. The bank account with $47 in it. The nights she's lain awake doing math that never adds up. Trying to figure out how to keep them fed and housed and alive. The crushing weight of doing it all alone. My daddy said he had no regrets, Sophia says suddenly, her small voice cutting through the moment. She's looking at Vincent. Those dark eyes so much like Tony's. He said that even when he was sad about things, he didn't regret leaving. He said leaving saved him, or made him the man he wanted to be. Vincent's face crumples and rebuilds itself in the space of a breath. Your father was smarter than me, braver too. He knew what mattered. He knew... His voice catches. He knew how to love without conditions. Something I'm still learning. He looks at Rachel directly now, really sees her. The exhaustion, the fear, the desperate hope she's trying not to feel because hope has disappointed her too many times. I can't give you back the 20 years I stole, Vincent says. Can't undo my pride, can't bring Tony back. Christo, I'd give everything I have for one more conversation with my son, one chance to tell him I was wrong, that he made the right choice. He takes a breath. But I can give you everything else. Protection, security, a home, a family, money for school, for doctors, for whatever you need. A future without fear. His voice drops, becomes almost pleading. If you'll have us. If you'll let me be the grandfather I never got to be. Let me keep the promise I should have made 20 years ago. Rachel's eyes fill with tears. She looks at Sophia, sees the hope there, the possibility. Thinks about Tony in those final days, morphine thin and struggling to breathe, writing that note in shaky handwriting. If you ever need help, find my father, Salvatore's, Thursday nights. He'll remember. Tony had known, even after 20 years, even after everything, he'd known that Vincent would come through, that blood would matter, that the man who couldn't forgive his son might still save his granddaughter. Tony always said you taught him what loyalty meant, Rachel says quietly, even if you two couldn't see eye to eye. He said you showed him what it meant to keep your word, to stand by your people. He wanted to stand by me and Sophia in a different way. Vincent nods, understanding. Then let me prove to him, wherever he is, that I learned something too. His voice cracks. That blood is blood. That family is everything. That love... He has to stop, swallow hard. That love is stronger than pride, stronger than anger, stronger than 20 years of silence. He extends his hand to Sophia. Let me be your nonno, little one. Let me make up for lost time. Sophia looks at her mother. Rachel nods, tears streaming down her face. And Sophia takes Vincent's hand. Sophia doesn't hesitate, doesn't think about it. She simply steps forward, closing the space between them, and wraps her small arms around Vincent's waist. The embrace is instinctive, pure, the way only children can be before the world teaches them to guard their hearts. Her face presses against his chest, her small body trembling, from cold, from exhaustion, from the overwhelming weight of everything that's happened in the last 20 minutes. Vincent Rossi, the Falcon, the man who once broke a rival's jaw in 3 places for disrespect, who's ordered things that would make saints weep, who's built an empire on fear and calculated violence, freezes, then breaks. His massive frame shakes. Great, shuddering sobs that come from somewhere deep and buried, somewhere he'd locked away 20 years ago and thrown away the key. His arms come up slowly, carefully, wrapping around this little girl like she's made of glass. And he holds her like she's the only solid thing in a world that's suddenly spinning out of control. Carlo turns away. The underboss, known for his brutality, for never showing weakness, wipes his eyes roughly with the back of his hand. Gino covers his face with both hands, his shoulders shaking. Paulie stares at his plate. Tommy examines the ceiling. The others find sudden interest in their wine glasses, their phones, anything but this moment. Some moments are too sacred even for witnesses. Rachel watches her daughter and her father-in-law, a man she'd feared in abstract for 8 years, a shadow that haunted Tony's nightmares, and sees Tony in both of them. The same set of the jaw, the same dark eyes, the same capacity for fierce, protective love. Tears stream down her face, but she's smiling. Actually smiling. For the first time in 8 months. Vincent's massive frame continues to shake, and Sophia's small arms barely reach around his middle, but she holds on tight. Her fingers grip the expensive fabric of his suit jacket, wrinkling it, and he doesn't care, doesn't notice, doesn't think about anything except this child, his granddaughter, and the 20 years he's lost. "I'm sorry," he whispers into her hair. His voice is broken, raw. "I'm so sorry. For everything. For not knowing you. For not being there. For the pride that kept your father away. For Daddy said you were a good man who made hard choices." Sophia's voice is muffled against his chest, but the words land like absolution. Vincent pulls back just enough to look at her face. "What?" "He told me once. I asked why we didn't have grandparents like other kids, and he said—" She scrunches up her face, trying to remember the exact words. "Oh, he said you were a good man who made hard choices, and sometimes hard choices mean people end up apart, but that doesn't mean they stop being family." Vincent's breath catches. Tony spoke kindly of him. After everything, after the ultimatum, the banishment, 20 years of silence. Tony told his daughter that Vincent was a good man. Something in Vincent's chest cracks open, a wound he didn't know could heal, a forgiveness he didn't know he needed. The restaurant transforms around them. What was a place of business, of debts and territories and cold calculation, becomes something else, a place of healing, of second chances, of love that survives even death. Marco watches from the kitchen doorway, dish towel in his hands, and crosses himself slowly. He's owned this restaurant for 30 years, and has seen the Rossi family through celebrations and funerals and everything between. But he's never seen this. Never seen Vincent vulnerable. Never seen the Falcon break. Carlo turns back, his face composed now, professional, but his eyes are red. He meets Vincent's gaze and nods once. A message passed between men who've known each other for decades. "I've got your back. Always." Gino approaches slowly. The old consigliere, keeper of family history, witness to 3 generations of Rossi power. He places one weathered hand on Vincent's shoulder, the other on Sophia's head, and makes the sign of the cross over them both. "Benedica questa famiglia," he murmurs. "Bless this family. Benedica questa bambina. Bless this child." Rachel steps forward. She spent 8 years hearing about Vincent Rossi, in whispers, in Tony's nightmares, and in the fear that kept them moving, kept them hidden. She expected a monster. She found a man, broken, grieving, desperate for redemption. She places her hand on Vincent's shoulder. He looks up at her, this daughter-in-law he's never met, and she sees the question in his eyes. "Thank you," Rachel says simply. Vincent shakes his head. "You're thanking me? After everything You're giving us a chance. That's more than I had this morning." Her voice strengthens. "Tony would be... I think he'd be happy. That we found you. That you found us." Vincent stands slowly, reluctantly releasing Sophia but keeping hold of her hand. He wipes his face with his free hand, not caring that his crew is watching, that he's showing weakness, that this violates every rule he's lived by. "I'll spend every day making up for the years I stole," he says. And it's a vow spoken to Rachel, to Sophia, to Tony's ghost, to God if he's listening. "I promise you that." Then the practical man returns, the leader, the one who solves problems and makes things happen. Carlo, I want 2 men with them at all times. Discreet, professional. No one touches them. No one even looks at them wrong. Already on it, boss. Vince Jr. and Paulie. Gino, talk to Maria. Tell her we'll be there in an hour. I want that guest house warm and ready. She'll have it perfect. Vincent looks at Marco. Your apartment upstairs, is it available? For you? Always. Good. Tonight they stay here. Get them fresh clothes. Send someone to that department store on Main, the nice one. Get food. Real food. And hot coffee for... He looks at Rachel questioningly. Rachel. My name is Rachel. For Rachel. And juice for Sophia. And whatever else they need. Marco nods and disappears into the kitchen, already making calls. Vincent kneels one more time, eye level with Sophia. Tomorrow morning we move you to a real home. Safe, warm, yours. But tonight you rest. You're safe now. You understand? You're safe. Sophia nods, still clutching the ring in her small fist. Vincent stands and looks around at his crew, these men who've seen him at his worst and his best, who've followed him through wars and investigations and betrayals. They're all watching him with something like pride. Let's move, Vincent says. We've got family to take care of. Outside, the rain continues to fall, washing the streets clean. But inside Salvatore's restaurant, something broken begins to mend. A family, fractured by pride and fear and impossible choices, starts to heal. And at the center of it all, a little girl clutches a gold ring with a falcon in flight, tangible proof that love, stubborn, patient, enduring love, can survive even 20 years of silence. The morning sun cuts through scattered clouds as Vincent's black Mercedes glides through iron gates that roll open with barely a whisper. Behind them, Carlo follows in a second car. Sophia presses her face against the window, eyes wide. It's like a castle, she breathes. Rachel grips the door handle, overwhelmed. The estate sprawls across 10 acres of northern New Jersey countryside, gated, secured, a world unto itself. The main house rises 3 stories, old-world Italian architecture with cream-colored stucco and terracotta roof tiles. Marble columns frame the entrance. A fountain burbles in the circular courtyard, a water catching sunlight like scattered diamonds. Beyond the main house, Rachel spots 2 smaller buildings, guest houses, she assumes, and everywhere, flowers. Rose gardens stretch along stone pathways, blooms of red and white and pink despite the autumn chill. My wife planted those, Vincent says quietly from the driver's seat, following Rachel's gaze. Isabella, Tony's mother. She died 15 years ago. Breast cancer. He pauses. Tony never knew. I tried to find him to tell him. But he disappeared completely. Different name. Different life. Rachel's throat tightens. Tony had grieved his mother in silence, never knowing she was gone until years after. The car stops at the guest house. Before Rachel can open the door, a woman appears. 60s, steel gray hair pulled into an immaculate bun, is wearing a simple black dress and sensible shoes. Her face is stern, all sharp angles and no-nonsense authority, but her eyes are warm. Maria, Vincent says, climbing out. This is Rachel and Sophia. Family. The word changes Maria's face entirely. She crosses herself quickly, then hurries forward. Benvenuti, benvenuti. Welcome. She takes Rachel's hands, studies her face, then Sophia's. Dio mio, she has Antonio's eyes. You knew my daddy? Sophia asks. Knew him? Bambina, I changed his diapers, fed him, scolded him when he tracked mud through my clean kitchen. Maria's voice thickens. He was a good boy, a beautiful boy. She leads them inside. The guest house is perfect. 2 bedrooms, living area, small kitchen. Everything is tasteful, comfortable without being ostentatious. Cream walls, dark wood furniture, soft rugs. Morning light streams through windows overlooking the rose gardens. "Your room, Piccola," Maria says, opening a door. Sophia gasps. The room is a child's dream. A real bed with a cream-colored comforter, a desk with a lamp and fresh notebooks, a bookshelf already stocked with classics. The closet is open, revealing new clothes in her size. There are toys on a shelf, age-appropriate, thoughtful, a globe, art supplies, everything a 7-year-old might need or want. Rachel's eyes fill with tears. 24 hours ago, they were facing eviction. Sophia slept on a mattress on the floor. Their refrigerator held 3 eggs and expired milk. Now this abundance, this care. "It's too much," Rachel whispers. Vincent, standing in the doorway, shakes his head. "It's not enough." And it will never be enough to make up for 20 years. After they've settled in, changed clothes, eaten breakfast that Maria prepared and insisted they finish, Vincent offers a tour. He's nervous, Rachel realizes. This powerful man who commands respect and fear is nervous showing his granddaughter his home. They walk to the main house. Inside, it's breathtaking. Marble floors, high ceilings, crown molding. But it's not cold. There are worn spots on the furniture, family photos everywhere, the comfortable clutter of a home that's lived in, not just displayed. "The dining room," Vincent says, gesturing to a massive table that could seat 20. "Every Sunday, the family eats together. You'll join us." It's not a question. They move through a corridor lined with photographs. Black and white images of Vincent's parents, Giuseppe and Carmela. Formal portraits from another era. Color photos of a beautiful woman with dark hair and warm eyes. "Isabella," Vincent says softly. "Tony's mother. She would have loved you both." And then, Rachel's breath catches. Tony. He's maybe 16 in the photo, wearing a leather jacket and a cocky grin, standing in front of a motorcycle. His hair is longer than Rachel ever saw it, and he looks so young, so alive, so completely himself. "I couldn't take them down," Vincent admits. "Couldn't erase him." He stops at a closed door, takes a breath, opens it. Tony's bedroom, preserved exactly as he left it 20 years ago. Posters on the walls, rock bands from the 90s, a movie poster for Pulp Fiction, a skateboard leaning in the corner, wheels dusty, baseball glove on the dresser, photographs pinned to a bulletin board, teenage Tony with friends, laughing, young and invincible. Sophia walks in slowly, touching everything with reverent fingers. She picks up the baseball glove, holds it to her chest. "He played baseball?" she asks. "Pitcher," Vincent says. "Good arm. Could have gone to college on a scholarship, but..." He doesn't finish, but he chose this life, until he chose differently. Rachel wipes her eyes. She's seeing the man she married as a boy, understanding the world he came from, the father who loved him enough to preserve his memory like a shrine. "I kept hoping he'd come back," Vincent confesses, "that I'd have a chance to apologize, to tell him I was wrong, that he could have both, this family and his own family. I kept this room waiting, kept it ready, just in case." He looks at Sophia. "It's yours now if you want it. When you visit, when you stay over. And this is your father's room, your history." They continue to the library, floor-to-ceiling books, thousands of them, a rolling ladder, leather chairs worn soft with use. Vincent shows Sophia a shelf. "These were Tony's favorites. The Hobbit, Treasure Island, Tom Sawyer." He runs his fingers along the spines. He'd hide in here for hours reading. Isabella would have to drag him out for dinner. "Can I read them?" Sophia asks. "They're yours, Bambina." The doorbell chimes. Voices in the entryway. Vincent tenses slightly. "That'll be Angela, my sister. She wanted to meet you." They return to the main living room. A woman in her 60s, stylish in expensive casual clothes, rushes forward. She looks at Rachel, at Sophia, and her face crumples. Antonio's daughter, she whispers. Oh, Vincenzo. She looks just like him. She embraces Sophia without hesitation. I'm your Aunt Angela, sweet girl. Your father was my favorite nephew. He had the biggest heart. Behind Angela, 3 others enter, cousins. The reactions vary. Luca, late 20s, approaches with a welcoming smile. Family is family, he says simply, shaking Rachel's hand. Francesca, mid-30s, is more cautious, eyes assessing. We'll see, she murmurs to someone beside her. But Marco Jr., not the restaurant Marco, but Vincent's nephew, is warm, immediate. Tony used to take me to ball games when I was a kid, before he left. I never forgot that. The afternoon unfolds. Angela insists on hearing everything, how Tony and Rachel met, what his life was like, how Sophia came to find them. Some family members warm quickly, others remain skeptical, watching, then waiting to see if this is real or some elaborate con. Carlo remains nearby, protective, his presence a reminder that Sophia is under the Falcon's protection. Touch her, and you answer to him. As evening falls, Maria prepares dinner. The massive dining table fills with family, 15 people, multiple generations, loud Italian conversations overlapping. And at the head of the table, Vincent sits with Sophia beside him. She's wearing her father's ring on a chain around her neck now, too big for her finger but close to her heart. Vincent looks around at his family, expanded now, complicated, but whole in a way it hasn't been for 20 years. He raises his glass. To family, to second chances, to Tony, who taught me that love is worth more than pride. To Tony, they echo. And for the first time in 2 decades, the Rossi family is complete. And the first week unfolds in a blur of adjustments and revelations. Sophia enrolls at St. Catherine's Academy, a private school 15 minutes from the estate. New uniforms, new supplies, a backpack that doesn't have a broken zipper. Rachel fills out forms in the administrative office while Vincent makes a single phone call that ensures Sophia's acceptance mid-semester, no questions asked, but money can't buy everything. On the 3rd day, Sophia comes home quiet. Too quiet. Rachel finds her in her room, staring out the window at the rose gardens. They know, Sophia says softly. The kids at school. They know who Nono is. What he does. She turns to her mother. They call me the Mafia girl. They whisper when I walk by. Nobody wants to sit with me at lunch. Rachel's heart breaks. They've escaped poverty only to face a different kind of isolation. The next day, Carlo arrives to pick up Sophia in a regular sedan. Dark blue, unremarkable, nothing like the usual intimidating SUVs. He's dressed in a simple polo shirt instead of his usual suit. He looks almost normal. Almost. Your Nono asked me to get you today, he says as Sophia climbs in. He waits until they're driving before continuing. I heard school's been tough. Sophia nods, staring at her hands. Kids are cruel when they don't understand something, Carlo says. They see the movies, the TV shows, they think they know what this life is about. But they don't. He glances at her in the rearview mirror. Your father understood. He saw past the surface, saw the men behind the reputation. Did you know my dad well? I loved him, Carlo says simply. He was the reason I'm here. He tells her about growing up poor in Newark, about Vincent giving him a chance when nobody else would, but it was Tony, just 18 himself, who taught Carlo to read properly, who helped him get his GED, who treated him like a brother instead of hired muscle. Your dad saw people, Carlo says, really saw them. That's rare in this world. At the estate, Gino becomes Sophia's unlikely companion. The old consigliere, keeper of family history, teaches her Italian in the library each afternoon. Buongiorno, he says. Good morning. Repeat. Buongiorno. Brava. Your father, he spoke beautiful Italian. Your nonna Isabella insisted. Gino's stories come slowly at first. then faster, like a dam breaking. Tony at 12, running errands for the family, completely innocent tasks, delivering messages, her picking up bread from the bakery. Tony's laugh, his terrible singing voice, the way he'd argue with Vincent about everything, politics, religion, the morality of their business. He was always questioning, Gino says, chuckling. Always pushing. Why do we do it this way, Uncle Gino? Why not another way? What if there's a better path? Drove your nonno crazy. What happened? Sophia asks. Why did he really leave? Gino's face grows serious. There was a night, a big fight. Tony was 23. He'd been seeing your mother for 2 years, keeping it secret because he knew Vincent wouldn't approve. Why not? Because she wasn't from this world. Because Vincent was terrified Tony would choose her over the family. And Vincent... Gino sighs. Vincent was right to be afraid. Because that's exactly what happened. He describes the night, Vincent discovering the relationship, the investigation he'd ordered into Rachel's background, the confrontation in this very library. Things said that couldn't be unsaid. Tony shouting that he wanted out. Vincent shouting that there is no out. The ultimatum. The choice. Tony walking out that night and never coming back. Later, Rachel finds Vincent in his study. She knocks, enters at his invitation. He's been drinking. Whiskey, half a glass, his face drawn. Gino told Sophia about the night Tony left, Rachel says. Vincent nods slowly. I investigated you. Did he tell her that? No. I should have. It's the truth. He looks at her directly. When Tony said he was in love, that he wanted to marry you, I had you investigated. Background check, financials, associates. I thought... He pauses. I thought you were using him, that you saw dollar signs. A way into the family. Rachel's jaw tightens, but she doesn't interrupt. I was wrong, Vincent continues. The investigator came back and said you were genuine. A teacher's aide from Philadelphia. Student loans, modest apartment, no criminal record, no connections, no ulterior motives. Just a woman in love with my son. His voice cracks. And I still couldn't accept it, because I thought love was weakness. I thought it would destroy him. And instead, your fear destroyed your relationship with him, Rachel says quietly. Yes. The word is simple, devastating. Tony proved me wrong about everything. Love wasn't weakness. It was the strongest thing he ever did. Walking away from all this, he gestures around, encompassing the estate, the power, the legacy, to build something real with you. That took more courage than anything I've ever done. Downstairs, Carlo teaches Sophia chess. They sit across from each other in the game room, pieces arranged between them. Chess is about seeing ahead, Carlo explains, thinking 3-4 moves into the future, understanding that every action has consequences. Like my dad leaving, Sophia says. Carlo pauses, surprised by her insight. Yes, like that. Your dad thought ahead, saw that staying would cost him something he couldn't afford to lose. His soul, maybe. His chance at a normal life. Do you wish he'd stayed? Carlo considers this. I wish I'd been brave enough to leave with him, or smart enough to make him stay in a way that didn't hurt him. I failed him, Sophia. By not protecting him from the choice he had to make. He didn't fail, Sophia says. He chose. That's different. Carlo looks at this 7-year-old with old eyes and nods slowly. You're right. You're absolutely right. Marco visits frequently, bringing food from the restaurant, sitting with Maria in the kitchen, becoming part of the extended family. Angela takes Rachel shopping, helps her adjust to this new world, gives her advice on navigating the family politics. Some of them will never fully accept you, Angela says honestly. They'll always wonder, always question. But Vincent has spoken, and what Vincent says is law. Gino explains the financial arrangements. A trust fund for Sophia, fully funded, managed by legitimate trustees. An education fund that will cover any school, anywhere. See Rachel's consulting salary from the family's real estate holding company, legitimate work, legitimate pay, nothing that would draw federal attention. I don't want charity, Rachel insists. Vincent arranges a real job, office manager at Rossi Properties, the legitimate arm of the family business. Real work, real responsibilities, a salary she earns. On Saturday, Sophia explores Tony's room more thoroughly. In the closet, she finds a box of his things, notebooks, CDs, photographs, and a journal. She brings it to Vincent in the library. I found this. Is it okay if I read it? Vincent takes the journal like it's sacred. Tony's handwriting on the cover, messy teenage scrawl. He opens it randomly, begins to read. Dad doesn't understand. He thinks love is choosing, but it's not. Love is both slash and, not either slash or. I love him. I love this family. And I love Rachel. Why does one have to cancel out the other? Why can't I have both? Vincent's hands shake. He reads another entry. I'm leaving tomorrow. I told Dad tonight. He said I'm dead to him, but I'm not dead. I'm finally alive. I'm scared as hell, but I'm alive. And maybe one day he'll understand that this isn't betrayal. It's survival. Tears stream down Vincent's face. He wrote this. He felt this. And I was too blind to see it. Sophia climbs into the chair beside him. Keep reading, Nono. Maybe if you read it all, you'll understand him better. So they do. Vincent and Sophia, grandfather and granddaughter, spending the afternoon in the library reading Tony's words, finding him in the pages, understanding the boy who became a man by choosing love over legacy. And with each word, with each entry, something in Vincent heals. Thank you, he whispers to Sophia, for bringing him back to me, even if it's just through these pages. Thank you. Outside, the sun sets over the rose gardens that Isabella planted. Inside, a family learns its own history, one page at a time. 3 months in, life has found a rhythm. Sophia thrives at St. Catherine's, still whispered about, still isolated, but no longer crying herself to sleep. She has her chess games with Carlo, her Italian lessons with Gino, her afternoons in the library with Vincent. Rachel works at Rossi Properties, earning her place, building a career. Vincent himself has softened, spending less time at Salvatore's, more time at home with his granddaughter. The family is healing. Then Marco calls. Vincent is in the library with Sophia when his phone buzzes. He sees Marco's name, excuses himself, and steps into the hallway. We have a problem, Marco says without preamble. Someone was in the restaurant last night, not family, asking questions about your new situation, about the girl. Vincent's blood runs cold. Who? Calabrese crew, I'm sure of it. The Calabrese family, old rivals, an uneasy truce maintained through mutual respect and occasional violence. They've been quiet for years, territories established, boundaries respected, but they're ambitious, always watching for weakness. And Sophia, an unknown granddaughter, suddenly appearing, looks like weakness. 2 days later, Carlo brings Vincent a manila envelope. Inside, photographs. Sophia leaving school. Sophia in the estate gardens. Sophia at the bookstore with Rachel. Long-range shots, professional quality, surveillance. Vincent's hands shake with rage. And he calls an emergency meeting. The crew assembles within an hour. Carlo, Gino, Paulie, the soldiers. They gather in Vincent's study, door closed, voices low. Calabrese sent a message, Carlo says, sliding the photos across Vincent's desk. They know about Sophia. They're considering options. The unspoken word hangs heavy. Leverage. Over my dead body, Vincent growls. That might be the point, boss. Security increases immediately. Sophia now has 2 bodyguards at all times, Vince Jr. and Tommy, both trained, both discreet, but impossible to miss. They follow her to school, wait in the parking lot, escort her home. She can't go anywhere alone. The nightmares return. Sophia wakes screaming, calling for her father. She withdraws, stops smiling, picks at her food. Rachel finds her staring out windows, and that old look back in her eyes. The world takes, it doesn't give. This is exactly what Tony feared, Rachel tells Vincent one night after Sophia finally falls asleep. This is why he left, to protect her from this. Vincent can't argue because she's right. Carlo's intelligence network identifies the photographer, a Calabrese soldier named Dante, young and stupid and eager to impress. They pick him up outside a bar in Hoboken, bring him to a warehouse, and Carlo extracts information the old-fashioned way. The Calabrese patriarch, Don Salvatore Calabrese, is testing, probing for weakness, seeing if Vincent's newfound family makes him vulnerable. Vincent and Carlo drive to the Calabrese compound the next morning. No weapons, no backup. Just two men seeking conversation, though the threat of violence hums beneath every word. Don Salvatore is Vincent's age, maybe older. They've known each other 40 years, sometimes enemies, sometimes allies, always cautious. He receives them in his garden, espresso in small cups, the civilized veneer over savage calculations. Vincenzo, Salvatore says, you've been busy, acquiring family. My granddaughter, Vincent says carefully. Tony's daughter. You remember Tony? Something flickers in Salvatore's eyes. Antonio. Yes, good boy. Shame about him leaving. He sips his espresso. And now his daughter finds you. Convenient. It's not convenient. It's family. Family can be used, Salvatore says, his meaning clear. Vincent leans forward. I'm willing to make concessions. The waterfront territory we've been negotiating. It's yours. The dock access. The shipping routes. All of it. In exchange for one thing. Sophia is off limits. Completely. Forever. Salvatore raises an eyebrow. You'd give up that much for a child you've known 3 months? I'd give up everything. The old Don studies Vincent for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiles. Your boy, Antonio. I remember him as a teenager. 17, maybe 18. My nephew Enzo was in trouble, bad trouble, facing serious time. Antonio testified as a character witness. Lied his ass off, actually. Said Enzo was with him when the crime happened. Your boy committed perjury for my nephew because it was the right thing to do. Vincent didn't know this story. Enzo straightened out after that, Salvatore continues. Got married, has 3 kids now, runs a legitimate business. He sets down his cup. I owe Antonio. And children are sacred. You know this. I know this. Only animals target children. So we have an agreement? We do. But not because of territory, because of respect. For Antonio, for the code. Salvatore extends his hand. Your granddaughter is untouchable. Anyone in my family comes near her, they answer to me. You have my word. They shake. A neutral third party, another family respected by both, witnesses the agreement. Sophia is protected, but when Vincent returns home, he finds Rachel packing. I can't do this, she says, tears streaming. I can't watch her become a target. I can't live with bodyguards and threats and wondering if someone's going to use her to get to you. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we should leave. Vincent feels something tear inside his chest. If that's what you need, I don't want to leave, Sophia's voice cuts through, and she's standing in the doorway, small and fierce. I heard everything, and I'm not leaving. Sophia, baby. Rachel starts. No. Sophia walks to Vincent, takes his hand. Daddy left to protect me. I know that. But he also left me his family. He left me you, Nono. And I won't walk away from you just because things are hard. That's not what family does. It's the first time she's called him Nono, the Italian, intimate, real. Vincent drops to his knees, pulls her close, and weeps. I can't lose you, he chokes out. Either of you, but I won't put you in danger. If leaving keeps you safe, we'll stay, Sophia says firmly. But different. I don't need to know about business. I just need to know you. Can we do that? Vincent looks at Rachel. She's crying but nodding. Yes, Vincent says. Yes, we can do that. That night, he makes decisions. More operations shift to Carlo, day-to-day management, the street-level work, the dangerous parts. Vincent becomes advisory, strategic, removed from the violence. He spends mornings with Sophia, evenings with family, Sundays in the garden where Isabella's roses bloom. He's choosing, the way Tony chose, love over power. That night, Vincent tucks Sophia into bed in Tony's old room. He pulls a book from the shelf, Treasure Island, worn and loved. Your father's favorite, he says, settling into the chair beside her bed. Will you read it to me? Every night, Bambina, until we reach the end. He opens to the first page and begins. Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and the rest of these gentlemen having asked me to write down the whole particulars about Treasure Island. Sophia's eyes grow heavy. Vincent reads on, his voice steady. And thinks about treasure, not gold or power, but this moment, this child, this second chance. Outside, bodyguards patrol. Inside, a grandfather reads to his granddaughter, and love, stubborn, patient, enduring, wins again. 5 years later, Sophia Bennett Rossi stands in the bathroom mirror of the guest house adjusting her dress. 13 now, taller, her father's dark eyes steady and sure. An honors student at St. Catherine's. Captain of the debate team. A girl who knows who she is and where she comes from. You look beautiful, baby, Rachel says from the doorway. Rachel has transformed too. Vincent's right hand in the legitimate businesses now. Rossi Properties has expanded under her management. She remarried 2 years ago to David, a high school literature teacher who volunteers at the local library and treats Sophia like she's precious. He doesn't try to replace Tony. He knows better. But he shows up, consistently, kindly, and Vincent approved after a thorough vetting that David jokes about to this day. The Rossi family background check, David likes to say, is more thorough than the FBI's. Vincent is 70 now, moving slower, his hair completely white, but his mind sharp as ever. He stepped back from most operations. Carlo runs the day-to-day now, the street-level work that Vincent no longer has the stomach for. The family businesses have shifted toward legitimacy, real estate development, restaurants, import/export companies that actually import and export legal goods. It's not complete. It never is in this world. But it's progress. Vincent spends his days in the garden with Sophia, with family. He's chosen a different kind of power. Tonight is the 5-year anniversary. 5 years since a rainy night at Salvatore's changed everything. The celebration is at the restaurant, now owned by Maria, a gift from Vincent when she mentioned retiring. She refused to retire but accepted the ownership, running it with the same iron efficiency she's brought to everything for 40 years. The private dining room is packed. 3 generations of Rossis, extended family, friends who've become family. The table stretches long, covered in food Maria has been preparing for days. Homemade pasta, osso buco, her famous tiramisu. Marco, the original Marco, now semi-retired but still consulting, stands to make a toast. He's told this story before, but it's become legend. And then legends bear repeating. 5 years ago, Marco begins, a little girl walked through that door in a rainstorm, scared, desperate, clutching a photograph, and she screamed something that changed everything. He looks at Sophia, smiling. She screamed the truth in a room full of dangerous men, and those dangerous men became family. The room applauds. Sophia blushes. Angela stands next, Vincent's sister, Sophia's great-aunt. She's been instrumental in helping Rachel navigate this world, in protecting Sophia when family politics got complicated. I want to talk about redemption, Angela says, her voice strong. About second chances. We all knew Vincent before, hard, unforgiving, proud. We loved him, but we feared him too. And then this little girl appeared and saved him, because that's what happened. Sophia didn't just find a grandfather. She brought him back to life. She reminded him what matters. Vincent wipes his eyes. He's not embarrassed anymore. He's cried more in the last 5 years than the previous 65 combined, and he's learned that tears are strength, not weakness. Sophia stands, reaches into her pocket, pulls out a small velvet box. She walks to Vincent at the head of the table and places it before him. "Open it, Nono." Vincent opens the box. Inside, the ring. His father's ring. The falcon in flight. But restored. Professionally cleaned, the gold gleaming, the onyx polished to mirror shine, reset in a way that honors its history while making it new. "I've been wearing it on a chain," Sophia says, "keeping it safe. But it belongs to you. It's your legacy, your history. I want you to wear it." She pauses, her voice strengthening. "But when I graduate law school, when I'm 22, I want you to give it to me. Not as the Rossi family ring, as our family ring. As a promise that love is stronger than pride. That family is who shows up. That's what it should mean." Vincent can't speak. He nods, accepting, understanding. She's honoring him while claiming her own path. She wants to be a lawyer, has wanted it since she was 10, since she understood that families like hers, caught between poverty and possibility, need advocates. "You're going to change the world, Bambina," Vincent manages. Rachel stands, her voice thick with emotion. "Tony would be so proud. Of Sophia. Of you, Vincent. Of all of us. He'd be amazed at what love built when pride stepped aside. A new photo is taken. Professional photographer. 3 generations. But everyone dressed in their best. Sophia at the center, Vincent's hand on her shoulder, Rachel beside her, David respectfully in the back, the whole family arranged around them. Angela and her children and grandchildren, Carlo, Gino, the crew who've become uncles. Afterward, Carlo pulls Sophia aside. He's aged too, grayer, softer around the middle, but still sharp-eyed, still protective. "Your dad gave me something before he left," Carlo says. "Asked me to keep it safe. Said if he ever had kids, he wanted them to have it." He hands her a pocket knife, nothing fancy. Worn wooden handle, blade that's been sharpened 1,000 times. But etched into the handle are initials, T.R. Tony Rossi. "He carried this everywhere," Carlo says. "Said his grandfather gave it to his father gave it to Vincent, Vincent gave it to him. It's yours now." Sophia holds it like it's sacred, which it is. Gino approaches, 85 now, moving with a cane, but present, always present. He makes the sign of the cross over Sophia, over the family, blessing them in Italian. Words about continuity, legacy, love that endures beyond death. As evening deepens, Sophia and Vincent slip outside to the garden. They walk among Isabella's roses, still blooming despite the autumn chill, tended faithfully by Maria and a groundskeeper who understands their significance. They sit on a bench, the compound peaceful around them. "Do you ever resent me?" Vincent asks quietly. "For the complications? The danger? The life?" Sophia takes his weathered hand in her young one. "You gave me a family when I had nothing. You gave Mom a life when she was drowning. You honored my father by loving us the way he hoped you would." She pauses. "How could I resent that?" Vincent's voice cracks. "You saved me, Bambina. I was dead inside, going through motions, building an empire that meant nothing. You brought me back to life. You taught me what Tony tried to teach me 20 years ago, that love is worth more than power. That family is the only legacy that matters." "Tell me about him," Sophia says. "Tell me something I don't know." So Vincent does. He talks about Tony as a boy, fearless and curious, always asking questions. About Tony as a teenager, torn between loyalty and conscience. About Tony as a man, making the hardest choice Vincent has ever witnessed. "Promise me something," Vincent says. "When you have children, and you will, you'll be a wonderful mother. Promise me you'll tell them about your father, about the choice he made, about love and pride and courage." "I promise, no. And promise me you'll tell them that family isn't just blood. It's who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself." "I promise." Vincent takes the ring from his finger. He put it back on during dinner, the restored gold warm against his skin, and holds it up to the setting sun. Light catches the falcon, makes it seem to fly. "When you graduate law school, this is yours. And when you have a child, you'll pass it on. Not as a symbol of what we were, but of what we're becoming. Of redemption, of second chances, of love that's stronger than fear." Sophia leans against her grandfather. They sit in comfortable silence, and watching the sun paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Inside Salvatore's, the party continues. The Rossi family, expanded and redeemed, celebrates not what they were, but what they're becoming. Laughter spills into the street. Music plays. Maria brings out more tiramisu. And somewhere, in heaven, or wherever souls go when their work on earth is done, Tony Bennett, Tony the Hawk, smiles. His daughter is safe. His father is whole. His wife has built a new life. His sacrifice mattered. Love won. It always does. It just takes time and courage and a little girl brave enough to scream the truth in a room full of dangerous men. That's when everything changes. That's when healing begins. And that's when family, real family, chosen family, the kind that endures beyond death and time and pride, finally comes home. "Hey, Daddy used to say family isn't just blood," Sophia whispers into the twilight. "It's who shows up." Vincent pulls her closer. "And we showed up, Piccola. We showed up." The falcon catches the last light of day, golden and free, flying home. The end.